The difference now is that anybody with an iPhone and a $29 internet subscription can generate this stuff en masse. If you do not say anything, provide some direction, give some broad stroke guidance about the truth, someone on the internet is going to fill that vacuum of information with a rumor. And because there's nothing else to counteract it, it will be the truth.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, combating AI slop and actually making the internet great again comes back to, hey everybody, welcome to On the Fringe. If you are joining us on the Fringe today, it's a good idea to have a map and a compass, but it's always a better idea to have a cartographer, and with that, a modern cartographer. We have Braden Frame, the COO of Modern Cartographers, joining us on the show today. Braden is a medically retired firefighter and paramedic. He served as the former president of Lake Travis Firefighters. He's also worked as a digital educator, and he's done 4 years helping the public and helping safety officials understand how digital campaigns work and essentially protecting people from digital threats. So we're going to be having an awesome conversation today with Braden. And Braden, thanks a lot for joining us on the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Really excited to talk to you guys and kind of go on the fringe of all these issues that are coming up. I feel like every day there's something new that's out there and pushing us all to make better choices or giving us worse information to make worse choices, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, it's been a good chat.
Definitely. Yeah. First, could you just tell us a little bit about what Modern Cartographers really does? I looked on your website and it's really interesting, and you guys do a lot to protect the general public and help public safety officials be aware of digital threats and things that are going on in the world.
Yeah, so we our team, we're really unique. We're one of the only communications companies that specializes in strategic, political, and crisis communications that exclusively employs public safety professionals. So everybody who works with us, works on my team, has either been on the job as a firefighter, a paramedic, an EMT, police officer, in some form or fashion. And, I came from public safety. We all did. And on that side, you see a bunch of different things, but you also very quickly realize how much the battle of information and the ability of outside forces to affect how your brand of public safety, even your local fire department, even your local police department, can be affected. And those changes in this digital information ecosphere that we're constantly actually battling in affect everything. They affect funding, they affect public safety, they affect whether or not there's enough people who come when the citizens call for help. And so when I got hurt, I've been on the job for a while. I got hurt. I had a couple of surgeries, and I wasn't able to return back to being a fireman. And so starting in my new career, I kind of leaned back on what I had been doing when I was on the job, which was working and helping firefighters across the country, United States and Canada, advocate for communicating their message better. And so we came up with this kind of fun name. And you think about most people in communications, I think political communications especially, but really across the board, they make a lot of decisions based on guesses. They're like the guy who hops on a boat. He's like, left turn, big boat of water. We're going to hit India. It's going to be great. And, he looked at some stars, maybe, oh, that didn't work. But they say, well, it was good enough. And I just think there's better technology. There's better data, better information out there. And so we're writing new maps, helping people get from where they're at to where they want to be as a brand, as a message, as an entity. And so we coined the term Modern Cartographers. Coincidentally, that website wasn't taken, which made it super easy to start the company up. And it's been a great time ever since.
So that's awesome, and thank you so much for introducing yourself. Just off the top of my head, quick question. When you're talking about the ecosystem, the changes that you've seen, can you just talk about, let's keep it simple. Let's talk about the last year. What are 2 or 3 changes that you've seen that you think maybe the public isn't as aware of as perhaps they should be?
Oh man, just the last couple of years, I think anybody talking about anything in this space is kind of remiss unless they use the biggest buzzword of right now, which is talking about AI. But I think what most people are missing, especially in public safety, and this is what we've been kind of banging our drum at, is that AI is not the stuff you put into ChatGPT that makes an email sound better. That's really not what is changing. What's changing is how the systems behind the system think. I remember listening a year and a half ago to a gentleman speak at a conference, and he was trying to really, really, really hard explain AI. And he was like, "Oh, we've been seeing AI for years. It's been in your phone and autocorrect. And so you see the computer was looking at what was around there and using interpretive decisions." And I just sat there thinking, like, man, these poor folks don't realize that's really not anything close to what the technology is doing today and what it's evolving, quite literally evolving to do tomorrow. And I think you take one step back from that. Most people, and I teach this a lot. I was just in Southern California teaching to probably 25 law enforcement officers. Most people, even there, don't understand how the most basic, simplest pieces of the Facebook algorithm work. How every time you open your app, for that half a second where it's loading, how Facebook is analyzing you, your battery percentage, what device you're on, what your location is, what's the last thing you did, what you've ever done on it. And at the same time analyzing everything else that everyone else has put on the platform. Every ad, every post, every group, every comment, and deciding what it thinks based on what we know as the algorithm is best for you and most likely to keep you there. And that algorithm used to be a bunch of ones and zeros, checks and balances, and I think of like analog train switches. And now, with what we're seeing growing in the ability of computerized truly intelligence, it's not switches of left or right. It's literally picking up and redrawing the internet that you see in real time. And that level of customization, and I would say also communication and a bit of programming is hitting all of us so much faster. People who are aware of it are looking for opportunities to maximize it and be better at it. And I think the rest of the world is just kind of floating down the river, not completely realizing that thing where we're like, well, maybe we're in a simulation. They're definitely observing the internet version of that digital simulation that the system is.
I think you touched on something there that a lot of people, I think, don't recognize, and like I haven't recognized until the last maybe year and a half. All of these companies want you to stay online. They want to keep you and continuing to use their services, whatever it is, and just keep going down that rabbit hole. So, I mean, at some point, you do reach within these companies and the way they work, you lose trust, you lose actual connection and communications with people, because a lot of this stuff is essentially just AI slop.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to. That's how they pay their bills, right? The longer you're on platform, the more ads you see. So I want to show you things as the platform to keep you on the platform, because the more you're here, the more times I get to show you an ad, the more times I get to show you an ad, the more times I make a couple of bucks off of you. So my goal is not to give you the best information, the most useful. It's to get you what keeps you around in its most simplest form. For I think for your listeners to really quickly understand, that's why if you post a link to a YouTube video on Facebook and you upload the exact same video to Facebook next to each other, same time of day, same moment, same text leading to them, the post with the video that's embedded in Facebook is going to do better. Because when you click the YouTube link, you're saying, hey, don't look at my Facebook ads anymore. Go to this other platform, look at their ads. And that's the easiest way, I think, to understand why on-platform time is what these companies are after. But honestly, what we're talking about right now, that's a 2020 conversation. In 2026, I think my bigger fear and what we're really seeing right now is most of what is being used to both generate content and income is rapidly moving away from true organic human-made things into inorganic slop. I think slop's a really great term for that. But it's generative crap that's out there. I mean, we saw it with just a couple of months ago. Did you guys see the Sam Altman ChatGPT, the bunnies on the trampoline? Everybody shared this video. It was like bunnies or deer on a trampoline. It was supposed to be this really cool and cute thing of a bunch of bunnies one night hopping on a trampoline. And everybody shared it because it looked like security cam footage from a Ring camera. All ChatGPT AI-driven slop. And it went wild. There was a couple of months ago, we saw a bunch of Ring camera videos. Really great. Oh, look at this really funny Ring camera. This hilarious thing. None of it was real. And why are people doing it? Because They're creating content. The content keeps people on the platform. The platform pays for views, so they make money. The platform gets to get people to stay on there because it is interesting. It's quite literally better content than all the other Ring camera videos that are actually real. And so
Mm.
everyone's making money off of us existing there. And at the same time, we're all receiving really poor, inauthentic, unreal experiences. And is it bad when it's a Ring camera video? No. It's way worse when it's something about what's actually happening in the news, moving the common senses about politics or beliefs or information. And even worse, it's a threat for our children because they're growing up in an age when what's real and what isn't real isn't clear. And that's creating a mindset where you have either way too much trust in everything you see or no trust even in the truth. And that's, I think,
Wow.
just a really difficult place for us to be.
Yeah, it's a very difficult place to be. I mean, just based on your experience, what do you think? I mean, I guess my first question is what you're describing in that 2026 dynamic, do you see that changing anytime soon, or is that just how the economy's set up right now?
Ah, I would love to think that it's going to change. I think right now it's definitely the way the economy is for a
Hmm.
period of time. But the advice that we're giving my friends, our clients, the people that we work with, is that now more than ever, authenticity truly does matter. And I think in a very microcosmic way, you can kind of see that because the younger generation is more interested in consuming what we would traditionally call advertising content from influencers rather than from commercials. And so you're watching major brands. They're running less commercials and they're paying more people to talk about their product. Now, it's still
Hmm.
paid placement, it's still an ad, but because it's a pretty girl, because it's the guy who makes the jokes, the consumer has a little bit more faith in that type of advertising at a certain point than they do in traditional, let me run a TV commercial that's really well produced and funny and buys in. So I do think there's going to be some hopeful move towards a bit of authenticity,
Hmm.
but at the same time, the inauthentic rate and the volume of
Yeah, the
AI
sheer
driven
volume. Hmm.
is you're up against a tidal wave in a
Hmm.
rowboat, and I think that's the real challenge we're coming up and facing right now.
With that, I mean, are the authentic creators, are they going to be able to attack, or I'd say even challenge these AI driven bots and these AI driven campaigns and this AI slop? Because ultimately they're outnumbered.
Oh, they're outnumbered, and it's really kind of like a perfect storm because what is every video creator, influencer, marketer, person at scale who's trying to create content, trying to learn right now? Every single one of them is learning VO3. Every single one of them is trying to figure out how can they leverage AI to make them faster, more prolific, more aggressive, more better, more. And all they're doing is maybe getting a little bit better in the moment, but they're feeding the machine. They're teaching what I would call in this particular case the enemy of inauthenticity. They're teaching it how to be more authentic, which is creating an even more powerful enemy for all of us to go up against in the very near future.
Wow.
But it's not all bad.
No,
I mean,
no.
it's kind of it's like it's not all bad, but the problem is there's just so little. So I like this conversation. There's so little talking about this. I mean, it's taken us as a community. One of the things that I'm really proud of the team that I work with is we have a division that works in lobbying. And one of the biggest things we got into lobbying focused entirely on labor rights, employee rights, public safety, wages, benefits, working conditions, worker protections. And over the last couple of years, we've evolved and we've had a shift where now the majority of our work comes in the human trafficking, sextortation, anti child trafficking space.
Hmm.
And it's taken a Herculean effort by not just our team, but by literally nonprofit groups, communities, victims, advocates, politicians to kind of be at a point 4 years into this AI thing to kind of begin pushing back on some of the worst things that are happening to children and women and girls. And we're almost to a point now where we're able to start using some of the tools, core technologies of AI, to actually fight back at a scale we couldn't do 5 years ago. So there's plenty of opportunity to use these things for good. It's just making sure that there is, frankly, the commercial interest and the political pressure and the societal demand for government to really follow through with that. But these tools, they can be incredibly powerful. They can save lives. They can impact things for good. But we're in a battle right now of the marketplaces trying to make the money and the systems and the people who pull the levers on the systems trying to really keep up to just even at the basic level understand what's going on. And it's really exciting for me and our team to be able to have these conversations with y'all and with legislators and with our friends and clients in public safety, with small government, because it's moving so fast. But having even the slightest bit of awareness, I think, makes them better to push back on the collapsing trust that they're all experiencing.
And of course, just to draw this a little more into a subject we talk about often here, I mean, this becomes a massive national security issue very, very quickly because getting people to have trust in government, I mean, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg of what you're talking about. There's also just the sheer scope for a malicious actor to manipulate events, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's we saw that it was an unfortunate thing where we had Governor Abbott who retweeted a video related to the most recent military conflict that wasn't accurate. He quickly caught on to it. The team caught on to it. They pulled it down. But for a period of time, he had a very high level thing where information that wasn't real was being repeated. And we've had misinformation in war, politics, and communications forever.
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years. The difference is not that we've never fought propaganda, bad pamphlets, fake pictures, cartoons. The difference now is that anybody with an iPhone and a $29 internet subscription can generate this stuff en masse. And so we're up against the one guy who's doing it and the one country that has thousands of these things and an entire team's programmed doing it. And it's that volume, I think, that is truly the real big threat that we're working against.
And again, we keep coming back in this whole conversation, we keep coming back to the issue of, I guess the way I think of it is economies of scale. All of this is operating on a scale where I think this must be a real barrier in your job. It's difficult for people to comprehend the sheer volume of content slop being created and the sheer volume involved in all of this moving along. How do you really get that across to people?
Well, it's tough to try to begin to explain it. But I think what really helps is that a lot of our public safety work that we do, a lot of that communication, is that we've been preaching. I've been banging my fist down about authentic, from the voice, be the brand, communicate and build that relationship. And so we have been trying to do that across the board, police, fire, EMS, for over a decade, as the age of social media has evolved. And so we are fortunate in many communities to already have a police PIO, a fire department captain, a union member, a union president, a POA union president, who's in a position to say, I represent, I've been speaking on, and I am the voice of public safety. And they've built that brand. They've answered the questions when somebody logs into Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and they say, why were there 5 police cars heading west on Main Street? What was all those sirens? Has anybody heard that helicopter circling for the last 20 minutes? When those people post those questions, for years we've been telling all of these agencies, all of these PIOs, all of these employee associations, answer them, tell them, we're looking for a kid. There was a concern of a theft. We're trying to solve a crime. There was a car accident. We needed an extra ambulance. Let them know so that way when they have questions, they know who they can ask about them. And then when that voice, that brand, that logo, that association, when they speak in those communities, they speak with a level of authenticity that can't be beat, can't be bought, and has to be earned. And so it really is, there's a a million and one things, some real, some generative, that are happening every day. And yet we are pushing really hard for these local brands of public safety, which trying to convince a fire department or an EMS agency or a police officer need to be a brand. They're like, wear a badge, it's fine. But no, you need to be a brand in your community. So that way you represent something special there to those people, and there's trust. It's hard to do. It takes an effort of time and energy and talent. But when you put those things together, that level of authenticity and trust is something that's been a really affirmative defense to outside forces that are trying to intentionally divide communities.
Almost sounds like it's going back to what the internet was intended to do in the first place. Just connect people and bring those people together and actually strengthen the relationships.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, man. That's where people actually really want to be. And I think that when you can give that to them in a easy to consume way, you really have something powerful that really works.
Well, that's almost an optimistic turn in the conversation.
Yeah.
I was happy to hear that. It's like, people, but it's really something, and we've talked about this before, and I'm really glad we've wound up here. Our initial conversation, there is like a real doom and gloom aspect, but at the core of it, it's basically even when people are being misguided or misled by generative AI or by misinformation or by whatever else, it all comes down to people basically want trust. People basically want a sense of community. And that can be used in a negative way, but if you're aware of that, you can build these things.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think I wouldn't call it all doom and gloom. I think that there are new and evolving threats that are incredibly dangerous. But at our core, people want to be well informed, and people want to be connected. And I think that there's a quote that I've given, and anybody who's ever heard me teach crisis comms will remember this. I always say, in the vacuum of the truth, the rumors are facts. And so I think that really applies now more than ever in everything that we do. If we're not being very clear about what the truth is and actually making sure it's the truth, that we can verify and back up and fully support. If we're not doing that, we're leaving this opportunity for the rumors about what actually is going on. And I have this deep conversation. It happens a lot during active investigations after critical incidents involving public safety, specifically law enforcement. And I understand deeply the challenges that often go into those investigations. And yet I constantly remind them that, well, I understand your concerns. If you do not say anything, provide some direction, give some broad stroke guidance about the truth, someone on the internet is going to fill that vacuum of information with a rumor. And because there's nothing else to counteract it, it will be the truth. And then the work that we have to do later is so much greater. That's been true for a while. And now with fake stories, unreal things, generative videos of misconduct that never occurred, we're up against that information and battle for truth even more. But there's plenty of opportunity for great successes, and people want to feel happy. They really do. People want good things. They want to feel safe, and when you can build that with them, I think you build better communities and better programs overall.
Definitely. Just piggybacking off of that. So how can the general public help public safety officers?
Oh man, there's so much that the public can do. I think I think in asking what the public can do, I think what we need is we need our communities at every level to be involved locally. I really believe that your power as a citizen is most outsized at your city and local level. It's incredible how many campaigns and elections that we run where we see council members, county supervisors, county commissioners, local level officials who win or lose races by double digits, 50, 20, 30. I mean, it's really crazy. People feel very small in government because they look at the national stage, they look at Congress, they look at the Senate, they look at how big their state is, and they feel insignificant. They feel as if they don't have a voice and no one will listen. And a lot of times they're not wrong. You vote you vote for one particular party, and you're in a particular state, and that particular state is an electoral college. Sometimes you're not wrong. But what also matters is like who you elect to city council or county commissioner or county sheriff or your board of education or your state legislature. These are races that have 200 to 2,000 votes cast in many communities. These aren't 50, 100 million. But this is like a couple hundred people get together on a random Tuesday. We ran an election in a recent small village in New York. I think like 1,700 people total voted in this election. That is an outsized amount of influence, power, and voice that every single person can have. And so if you come to that table and it's local and you're not on the national stage, you're not on the federal stage, you're not even at the state level stage for governor, but you just say, man, in this community, we need to make sure that when we call 911, enough folks show up to put out a fire, or we need to make sure that we're not getting hit by this flood. We need to make sure that we're doing better here. Those voices are so powerful. And those votes actually do make a huge difference in who's in power, how they're held accountable, how transparent they are, and really delivering. I think what I personally believe is the whole point of government, which is for it to be a group of representatives elected by the people who serve the people. And more important than everything, the most important thing I would say to remember here is a quote by a really good friend of mine. The world is run by the people who show up. And I think more powerful than anything, if you want to help make your community safer, your city, your community is run by you if you show up. That's all you have to do. You don't have to change the world. Just change your neighborhood, change your street, change your council, be a part of that. And incredibly powerful things can happen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Braden. That's a fantastic note to wrap this up on. And yeah, I mean, you heard it here first, folks. Get involved in municipal politics. It's a good place to start. It's also worth noting that in the United States, people sometimes take these things for granted. We have so many positions municipally that are up for election. And this is definitely a feature of our system of government that sometimes can be a little bewildering, but there are definitely positives that can come out of it as well. And thank you for bringing that up, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Braden, for bringing that up. And kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, combating AI slop and actually making the internet great again comes back to participating. And if you see something that, you like, or you want to write something, interact with people on there, because otherwise they're just going to see a bunch of junk, and nobody wants to see junk. They want to actually see messages and see videos that you made, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, I think that's the goal. I like to believe we're going to get there. I like to believe that one day AI will be a tool, and all of the pieces of it will be tools that do help us make the world better, that do help us combat large, complex, data-heavy challenges that we haven't had the technology to battle before. But like so many things, the only way we get there is with everybody being a part of that, and everybody kind of being a part of those bigger voices and those major moves. But I think together we can get there. We got to be aware of the threats and work towards the solutions.
Definitely. Gavin, Braden, anything else to add before we sign off?
I mean, once again, Braden, thank you so much for being here and on the Fringe today. Just an incredible talk. Very eye-opening, I think. I hope eye-opening for some of our listeners. And yeah, just really appreciate you coming on, man.
I appreciate the time. Thanks for sharing a little information with your audience and your corner of the world. Conversations like this, I think, matter. I do. I appreciate, and I'm humbled to be able to have this conversation with you guys. And I would encourage anybody listening to have these conversations. Learn a little something new every day. Try to be a little more informed, and try to engage the people that you can talk to in your community about these things. Because the more we open our eyes a little bit, just a little bit more, the less likely we are to be fooled and to be the schmucks of the world. We don't want to be those internet schmucks out there. It's such a great opportunity for us. I think it's a great conversation, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. Happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. And I'll be sure to put a link to what Braden's doing below. And we'll put the podcast out there and hope you guys enjoy listening to it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Gavin.
It's time, Dave.
Time
Hit
for
the
the button.
button.
Hit the button.
Time for
All
the
right,
button.
here we go.
Go hit the button.